If I had Luigi Mangioni's phone number, I would send him my pussy. I'd send him my pussy in a box. Gays, you're not gonna believe this. His God had given him a message that we were meant to be intimate. I shouldn't say this, but I will. Hey you guys, I'm Kathy Griffin and welcome to a very special episode of Kathy Griffin Talk Your Head Off. Every week I've been asking you to leave your comments and questions in the comments section because we're kind of building this show together and you did it. So this week's entire episode is going to be questions from you guys and nothing is off the table. Like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. I need ya.
Talk about being 64, single and sexy and dating again. What was the worst date of your life?
There have been so many bad dates in my life, it's actually hard to choose the worst date. It's always awful when the guy would want to go Dutch. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't even consider that being old-fashioned. I think that when it comes to dating, I purchased a bunch of makeup, I put it on. I purchased hair products that you didn't have to do. I purchased special clothing. And most women just sort of have more clothes than most guys do. I'm probably in shoes that are so uncomfortable, you could never walk in them. Look at these shoes. I know they're amazing, but try walking in them. I actually feel that's one of the reasons that going Dutch is just lame and just makes you look really cheap. But I don't have anything against a guy that's poor, and so if you're poor, make me some spaghetti. I'll be happy. At least you put in the effort. The worst date I've ever been on was, okay, this is when I was so young, I was still living with my mom and dad. And when I say so young, I mean 28. You guys, I lived at home till I was 28. I was in the Groundlings comedy troupe in Los Angeles, which is a really big deal. And I was the only one that still lived at home at 28. It was so embarrassing, but I was saving my money. My mom taught me well, so did my dad. Save money, and I did. And I always had day jobs as well. I was a waitress and a busboy and the whole thing. I go out with this guy, don't remember how I met him. I show up at his apartment, big mistake. I will say there were many times that when I think back on them, I really put myself in dangerous positions. Not that the guy was innocent. I go to this guy's apartment and I walk in and there's some kind of altar set up. And he was into either Buccaria or Santeria, one of those. And I believe them to be cults. And if not, just far too religious for me to take seriously. But I thought, oh well, that's his thing, no big deal. So we go out to dinner and all he talked about was wanting to get home because he wanted me to participate in whatever was happening at his altar in his apartment. And so I was like, well, I'm always eager to learn new things and gee, are you sure you want to do that? You don't want to take me to a movie theater or something? Those days there were theaters. We went back to his place and guess what the altar turned out to be? A rape attempt. Oh yeah, this guy full on tried to rape me and he was using the altar by saying that like his God had given him a message that we were meant to be intimate. I'll never forget, he used the word intimate. And he started to paw me. And you know, when you're a woman, you just think exit, you know, and so I was able to kind of joke my way out of the apartment. And I remember running to my Toyota Corolla, which my parents sold to me for $1 because it had over 100,000 miles on it already. I believe it had 103,000 miles on it, but it still ran like a good Toyota Corolla. I got in the car and the guy put himself between the car door and the car. And so I was able to get in the driver's seat and he was holding on to the door. And I finally started the car and I was so scared, you guys. I was scared for my life. I knew what he had in mind at this point. He was obviously stronger than I was. And he's holding on to the car door. So guess what I did? I dragged him. I did. I just hit the gas and I dragged this. And I mean, I'm laughing now because can you imagine like going for a walk down the street and just seeing this little redhead dragging some guy who's holding onto the door of an old Toyota Corolla? And Eventually he fell off and he still called me. He still continued to call me to be like, where should we go next time? Should we go out for Chinese food next time? What should we do? In those days, we had answering machines, and I ended up getting a restraining order against him, which I had to go to court for. And then he left a message on my machine saying nothing was going to stop him, certainly not a restraining order. So then I had to bring that tape, a cassette tape, to court. And I finally got a 3-year restraining order. And I know that took a dark turn, and I'm sorry, but that was my worst date.
What's your favorite thing to do on your day off?
Honestly, cuddle with these guys. I know, I'm such a doggy dork, but I can't help it. I get the unconditional love. They're natural comedians. They do funny stuff. This one here speaks English. I swear, she just makes these sounds like, which means, I feel like it's almost dinner time and you're acting like it isn't. So can I have a treat at least? And this one is just nervous and cold all the time. And he lives to protect his little freckle feet because he's got these little feet. And if you even look at them, he goes, "Ay!" And it's the worst feeling because I never want to step on them. And this is my watchdog. Do not mess with her. But she's actually a mush once she approves of you. And then this one over here, if you can even see her, hi, I'm talking about you. No, I'm going to talk about you anyway. She is little mischievous. She is little Miss Mischievous. She's like that kid that will get you in trouble in school by goading you to tease the teacher one too many times, and then you're the one who gets detention. So I just spend a lot of time with these guys. We watch TV together. I go on walks with them. Okay, all 4 of them sleep in the bed with me every night, which I know is a cock block, but I don't have any cocks to block at the moment. And so it's okay. And when the moment, arrives, then they're gonna be out of here. No, just out of the bed. That's all I meant.
Did you ever get to meet Pee Wee Herman?
Oh my gosh, I didn't just meet Pee Wee Herman. I knew the man, Paul Reubens, very well, and I just adored him. First of all, he's from the same comedy troupe that I'm from called The Groundlings here in Los Angeles. And I remember when I first joined and I was a baby groundling, I would look at all the pictures on the wall of the A Company, the company that performed 2 shows Saturdays, 2 shows Friday. And I just thought he was so cute. And so, first of all, I had a crush on him. And when I got to know him, he was at the height of Pee Wee. And I remember going to the premiere of Big Top Pee Wee, which was his second feature film, because I was friends with one of the writers, George McGrath, and he took me as his +1. And it was on the Paramount Studios lot. And they recreated the set, and it was star-studded. And I mean, I didn't walk the red carpet or anything because I was a total nobody, but it was just so exciting to be there. And I had only met him briefly a couple of times, but he was such a big star. And I'll never forget at this moment when he's being surrounded by people, and he must have been just exhausted after that night, because you're kind of like hosting when you're starring in a movie and they have such a big expensive party for you. And he caught my eye, and it was across the, I was probably 20 feet away, and he just gave me this Pee Wee, you know how I used to do that smile? Like that kind of crooked smirk. And he winked at me. And it was just this wink like, you're okay. Like, I know this is overwhelming, but you're okay. And I never forgot that. But later we became friends in real life. And you guys, he would send me these videos on my birthday that were so amazing. I'm not even going to describe it anymore. I'm just going to show it to you right now.
Well, Kathy. That's right, Kath. Television's Paul Reubens, Pee Wee, Kathy. I don't think I have to tell you who I am. I don't have to, and I won't. Kathy, let me ask you a question. What would ever possess me to take this kind of time from my busy celebrity schedule? I'll be right there, everybody! To make a video like this for you. Why? Why would I do it? Why? I asked the question, I'm going to answer it. I'm crazy Kathy. Crazy about you. I'm crazy about you. I hope you know that. I don't know if you really know the extent of it. I mean, I've got my yearly happy birthday, Kathy messages, and I'm thinking about you, Kathy, and holidays. But, well, maybe it does add up. I mean, I'm practically stalking you all the time. But listen, in all seriousness, I really like you. Like you. And I'm not sure if you know the extent of it, but I really, really like you. All right, I love you. I blurted it out. There. It's out there. I love you. I really do. Seriously. I love everything about you. You're genuine and real and hilarious. You're crazy talented and crazy. I'm in awe of you. I respect you. I like everything about you. Really, seriously, I really do. Honest. Come on. I hope you believe me, because it's true. And I want you to know I'm thinking about you today and sending you so much love and light, and that I hope that this year beginning for you today is filled with kindness, joy, love, and happiness, Kathy. Seriously. All the very, very best. Mwah! Dude!
That's who he was. He would take the time to do that for little old me and his other friends. And how hilarious is he? And what a genius. And when I had my scandal with the Trump decapitated head photo, he came to my house. He offered his house as a place for me to stay and be away from the press, because the press, as well as many, many people, well, the press just wanted to hound me in a way that wasn't even fun and D-list. And the public was extremely confrontational with me. And by that, I mean extremely. And so he came over and he said, stay at my house. Nobody will know you're there. And it was so sweet. But I said, well, Paul, I'm used to my house and my own creature comforts. And I lived in a gated community, which I know is really bougie. But let me tell you, at that time, it was helpful. But Paul offered his house up and everything. And he was a real pal. That was who Pee Wee Herman really was.
Would you ever do a reunion with your old assistants?
Would I ever do a reunion with my old assistants? Absolutely. I mean, first of all, we have a mini reunion planned, but I don't know if we can pull it off. But we're trying to get together to go to Vegas together. This would be Tiffany, John, who wasn't on My Life on the D-List, but he was on my Kathy talk show, which ran 2 seasons, and you can see it on Apple TV. We're trying to go see Backstreet in the Sphere and then Kelly Clarkson. They're impossible tickets to get, so I don't know if I can pull it off, but I will be using all of my D-List powers to try to make that happen, because we're still good friends. I just talked to John last week. Tiffany and I were just texting a couple days ago. Tiffany is very happy. She lives in Northern California with her husband and 2 kids, and she works at Google. She has a great job. John is engaged, and I love his fiance, and he's a great guy, and he works for Netflix, and they went on to do really well. Tom, we probably wouldn't see, because he's in Missouri. I've talked about this on another episode, but he's in Missouri looking after his parents. But yes, I would get together with all of them. Jessica, I would love to see Jessica again. She's living in Arizona. So yes, I would absolutely love a reunion with all my old assistants.
Have you ever met Jennifer Coolidge?
Oh my gosh, I haven't just met Jennifer Coolidge. She's my pal for decades. I absolutely love Jen. She's so legit. She, in real life, is kind of like the character she plays, just a little bit, but she's so unique. I mean, there's nobody like her. When I first met her, she was a model. She was tall and bone skinny, and she was a model. So she walks into the Groundlings, this comedy troupe I was in, and I'm thinking, okay, here comes this dumb model. Now I got to put up with some dumb model that somebody told her she was funny one time, and she's not going to be. So I judged the book by its cover, and boy, was I wrong. Everything out of her mouth is unexpected, imaginative. She's been through a lot. You know, she doesn't talk about her personal life a lot, but she's been through hell and high water, you guys. She's survived it all. And she's also been a good teacher for me, because I remember when, you know, a network was pursuing her really hard for a show that she just didn't want to do. She just didn't think it was funny. I have never been in that position, but I remember when this network wanted her so bad, they sent her boyfriend a full set of golf clubs to her house. And she was like, oh, Kath, they sent me all these golf clubs for my boyfriend, and I don't even know if I like him anymore. What am I gonna do with a bunch of golf clubs? Maybe I'll hit him over the head with a couple. And I mean, we would just talk like that. And I remember I was going through a very, very hard time after my first marriage and my first divorce. I've been married and divorced twice. And she came over to the house. It was the My Life on the D-List house. And it was just the two of us. And she sat there and listened to all my problems. And we got to talk, and we talked about relationships and being women in comedy. And I love that she's getting her flowers. And she's not done, you guys. She's so talented. Now, here's the weird fun fact. We both got our first TV shows, TV gigs, from Roseanne Barr, who's now a total MAGA Trumper who hates me. I don't know how she feels about Jen, but it was a show called Saturday Night Special, and Jennifer and I got to be in the cast of Sketch Players. So we went through that together. And you guys, I shouldn't say this, but I will. We did a sketch that you could never do now, and it was called Crack Baby, and it was about how Jennifer and I played these two rich Beverly Hills ladies that were dying to get a crack baby. Everyone in Hollywood is getting a crack baby, and I don't have my crack baby yet. Now, who do I go to, and how do I get my crack baby delivered? Isn't that awful?
If you had Luigi Mangioni's number, what would you send him?
If I had Luigi Mangioni's phone number, I would send him my pussy. I'd send him my pussy in a box. I mean it. I mean, what's left of it? Because, you know, she's been through quite a lot as it is. I have a controversial take. I'm free Luigi. I know. But like I said, innocent till proven guilty. Hear me out. And I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I know. What he allegedly did was something that needed to happen. Not in that way. I am not pro-murder, pro-assassination, duh, obviously. When you think of the number of people that probably died because United, I believe United Healthcare was the name of the company, denied them coverage. And I've read, it has been reported up to 40% of the people that filed for claims, you know, to get health insurance, rather not to get health insurance, they had health insurance through United, and they filed claims to get hospital stays covered, to get doctor visits covered, to get medications, and were denied and died because of it. So I know he's an anti-hero, but that's what an anti-hero is. They're not perfect. And he took a stand and he did something allegedly very, very wrong. But let me tell you, it got a very important conversation started. So I know you wouldn't think that about me, especially at my age. But yes, I'm a free Luigi, and not just because he's hot. But woo, he's hot.
Would you ever do reality TV again?
Would I ever do reality TV again? I would, but what I fear is that no network or streamer would let me do a show as real as Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List was, because that show truly was not scripted. They would just follow me around for 6 months, hoping I would do funny shit and then capture it. They gave me beautiful edits. They really knew how to edit comedy. And what that show really was a situation comedy. And it was disguised as a reality show. So I would love to do a reality show again if it could truly be funny first, and if it was actually real, not scripted, not throwing in fake characters. Like I remember on My Life on the D-List, in one season, they had, it was an episode where I got to take my family on like a fancy hotel visit. And then all of a sudden they hired an actor to play a butler. And I just stopped down production. I was like, no offense. I fired the guy. I felt guilty. I still feel guilty about that actor. But I said, He's not the real butler that works at the hotel. Either we get a real person who works at the hotel to sign a release and let us film him, or we're not gonna have a butler. And they're like, but it would make for good comedy, your parents with a butler. I said, my parents are funny enough on their own, trust them. And so I think he might have been in a scene. I haven't watched the show since it aired, but that's what I would want. I would want it to be really real. Okay, random question. Have I ever met Mr. T? Okay, I love the randomness of this because he's kind of ubiquitous, right? He's sort of always been around and he's always been famous. And even the youngs, you know who Mr. T is. If not, look it up and you'll be like, oh, that guy.
But I pity the fool.
Okay, so get this. I was on tour back in the day in the 2000s. I'm gonna guess like 2003 maybe. And I didn't even know that I should have a tour manager at the time. So I used to tour completely by myself. When I was playing like nice theaters, by the way, I wasn't doing clubs anymore. And so I was in my hometown of Chicago and I was at the hotel and the car did not arrive to take me to the show. Now, I like to get to the show as close to showtime as possible because if I get to the theater too early, I get nervous and I start pacing. So if it were up to me, I would just go from doing my hair and makeup at the hotel to the car to basically walking out of the car onto the stage. And I've come pretty close a few times, but this time it was getting closer to 8 o'clock. It was 20 to 8. And then it was a quarter to 8 and I'm standing there and then out of the hotel walks Mr. T and a bunch of his friends. He just looks at me and he's like, hello, funny lady, which I find humorous because I don't expect him to know my name, but I was glad that he recognized me as a comic, right? And I said, Mr. T, it's such a pleasure. How are you doing? And he said, I'm doing okay. What are you doing out in the cold? Because it was freezing cold. And I said, well, I have a show tonight at the Chicago Theater, but my car hasn't arrived. And I'll be honest, I'm on in 15 minutes. And now I'm starting to realize they're really pushing it. And I can't find the phone number of who I'm supposed to call if the car doesn't arrive because the car has always arrived on this tour. And so he goes, well, I have a limo coming. Do you want me to take you to your show? And I said, yes. And so he had a stretch limo, like an old school stretch limo, not an SUV. And I piled in with all of his friends. And he says to the driver, oh, we're gonna make a stop. We're gonna let this funny lady off at the Chicago Theater where she has a show in 15 minutes. So you're gonna have to hit the gas. And not only was I grateful, but I realized that incident gave me the first 10 or 15 minutes of my act that night. He lets me off right in front, because I said, I don't even want to go to the stage door. I want to go to the front door of the theater because I need witnesses. This is so epic. And so he pulls up to the front door of the Chicago Theater, and then I roll down my window and I see a few late arriving gays. You know, sometimes the gays are not always on time. Yeah, I said it. And so I start yelling out the window, gays, gays, you're not gonna believe this, but I'm in Mr. T's limo. In fact, I can prove it. And so he looks out the window and he starts waving and he's talking in this Mr. T voice. And it was so funny because only like 5 people saw it, but that was enough. And they all had this shocked look on their face. And so I thanked him. I don't think I've seen him since, maybe one time, and I'm sure I reminded him of the story. I don't have his phone number, but I went in, I ran on stage, and I started the show by saying, you're not gonna believe who drove me here. And somebody yelled, Mr. T. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a backstory. And it ended up being the first few minutes of my act that night. And I will always love him for that. And I just can't believe how lucky I got that Mr. T just happened to be there with a stretch limo, changed his plans, and took me to the theater and got me to the show on time. You guys, I love answering these questions because so many of these stories I've like forgotten or I just haven't thought about in a long time. And some, the new ones I love as well. So please leave your questions in the comments. Like and subscribe. Tell all your friends to watch Kathy Griffin Talk Your Head Off, and I'll do another episode and maybe your question will be chosen. Thanks, you guys. Mwah, mwah. Love you. And as I like to say, see you next Tuesday.